like my bronze statue, and I like the ballroom and Hoda. I've been honored way yonder beyond my expectations.
Even Lee Robertson is amazed at how his life turned out.
I wasn't a very good high school student, and I wasn't a very good college student, but I managed to get through all of them.
The native of Calhoun, Kentucky says he had no idea what he would do after high school, but it turns out plans were made for him.
I graduated from high school in the last of May of '41. 6 months later, Pearl Harbor was bombed. 6 months later, I was in the service.
With beachhead landings in New Guinea, Morotai, and the Philippines, Lee recalls his 3 years of service in the U.S. Army with great detail. When his time ended in December of 1945, he finally arrived home on an icy Christmas morning.
I got out of that car with my duffel bag, and there was ice on our porch, and I nearly fell down. I come near getting killed on my front porch than I did in New Guinea.
He surprised his whole family, even his brother and sister, who were all up at 5 a.m.
Our strongest drink was hot chocolate and cookies, and didn't go back to bed on that Christmas day.
College was never something Lee thought he could afford. That is, until a friend mentioned the GI Bill. The very next day, the two drove to Bowling Green to sign up.
That's the greatest thing that ever happened in this world, is the GI Bill. It took college out of the elite few to the masses.
Lee played baseball in a Sunday league team and eventually caught the eye of Ed Diddle.
I probably pitched the best game I ever pitched. Mr. Diddle saw me, and the next time he saw me, he said, "Robbie, why don't you come to Western and play for us?" I said, "Count me in. I'm a Joyce."
After graduating from Western in 1950, Lee was working as a teacher and coach in Park City when he crossed paths with a former neighbor while living back in Calhoun for his summer job.
I saw this gal go in the post office next to the grocery store where I went, and I said, "Who in the world is that?" That little old gal next door, my neighbor, I went down there and checked, and it was Joyce. I was 28 and she was 18.
Soon after, Lee took a job in his native McLean County.
She left Murray and went to Kentucky Wesleyan in Owensboro. I left Park City and went to Livermore, and that way we were close together.
After they married in 1953, the couple moved back to Barron County before landing at WKU in 1960, when Lee was named Director of Alumni.
That Mama Joyce, bless her heart, never questioned our moves. She said, "That's what you want to do, let's do it."
In his role, Lee traveled the country meeting WKU alumni.
When I went to Western in alumni affairs, we had one alumni club, that was in Muhlenberg County. 6 years later, we had 52 from New York City to Miami, Florida.
During his tenure in 1978, he had the idea of hiring a WKU alum who had also worked as a student recruiter by the name of Gary Ransdell.
I told Kelly Thompson, "I've been here 18 years and haven't got any help. I need some help." And Gary Ransdell would be perfect for his job, so he put him in alumni affairs as my assistant.
The two worked together for 3 years and were reunited nearly 2 decades later when, in his new role as WKU president, Ransdell brought Lee back into what's now known as philanthropy and alumni engagement. To this day, at 100 years old, Robertson is still rallying support for WKU.
I never made an enemy, and I don't know, I didn't try to not make enemies. I didn't try to make friends, but something about the job just fit me.
At least 50 students have benefited from the Lee Robertson Scholarship over the years, including one of the first recipients, 1988 alum Beverly Kirk.
I found her living down a white gravel road in a little house, her mama and she were sitting in the swing on the front porch when I drove up.
I was so excited. He brought the check and gave it to me and my mom. And he talked.
Kirk spent 2 decades as a journalist at the local and national level. She now leads a nonprofit focused on women and leadership. She calls the scholarship a turning point in her life.
Had I not gotten that academic scholarship to Western, I would have still gone to college, but I would have graduated with a whole lot of student debt like a lot of students do.
Parents to Steve and Mindy, Lee and Mama Joyce have been married for 69 years. He has lots of titles, including War Hero, Granddad, Great-Granddad, and Mr. Western, a reference he says Gary Ransdell made in conversation with someone years ago.
I think that's where it started, but he caught on, and that's a title I'm really proud of. That's when I go to thinking about through the years, there's not any other Mr. Western. And dang, there's been some awful great people come through there that outdid me by miles.